Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, and dear Samir, dear friend, thank you so much for accepting my proposal, my offer to moderate this, to be the moderator of this conversation. Yes, of course, to see so many leaders in Yerevan, European leaders, members of the European political community, to see so many topics being discussed in frames of European political community summit, but also EU-Armenia summit, which took place first time in history, and also being a participant of President Macron's state visit, and later being a participant of so many interesting discussions happening on this floor is very exciting. And frankly, we haven't had the time to assess what has happened during last 3-4 days, and also the discussions here within Yerevan Dialogue. But at first glance, I can say that yes, we are satisfied.
Minister, let me cut straight to some of the key issues that we have been discussing, and I wanted your thoughts. We could benefit from your insights. The first, of course, is that Armenia was seen as a country that was constrained by geography. Over the last 3 years since I have been coming here, under your leadership, the leadership of the Prime Minister of Armenia, we have seen this same geography being turned into a strategic asset. An asset for connectivity, an asset for cooperation, an asset for unleashing the future of, in many ways, the region. How have you been able to convert this geography into a strategic advantage?
Well, let me express my congratulations, Dr. Samir, because you somehow managed to dig and reach to the roots of the challenges that we are having now in this region. Or maybe I'm mistaken, and this is quite a simple conclusion, quite a simple observation to make, or quite a simple conclusion to come to, looking from a side. But to tell the truth, this is an issue in understanding of which we have spent decades and decades, if not centuries. Mm-hmm. We, I mean, people in Armenia, Armenian society, Armenian political thought in general, we have always been thinking that we live in a very tough, dangerous region where our independence and our existence was always being questioned. And this is true, partially or completely true, but the challenge has always been how to turn this threat into an advantage. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what we are now trying to do in Armenia. So when the whole world is looking for new routes for supply chains, for new transportation corridors, being an obstacle means remaining a threat always. Mm-hmm. Because these routes, they are like, we have been also talking much about water these days. Correct. So being an obstacle on the way of water is quite a stupid thing to do, because the water will always find its way. So the challenge is how to become a bridge rather than an obstacle. So this is what we are now trying to do in Armenia. We're somehow understood that we can connect Europe with Central Asia, with Far East, with India, China, and this can be, in turn, this can be not only a way to save our existence, our sovereignty, but also to get another additional guarantee for further peaceful prosperity. Mm-hmm. And we should also notice that peace is, yes, it might be an obvious solution, but on the other hand, you cannot build peace alone. So you cannot declare peace and live in peace when your neighbors consider you as an enemy and they want to destroy you. So again, the challenge is to create a situation where all the neighbors, all the actors in the region and beyond the region as well are interested in peace and want to secure peace and want to create a modus vivendi in this region, tolerance, cooperation. Here we are currently.
Now, so let me drill deeper into the modus vivendi. Let me ask you about what's happening in the region, the normalization of relation process, especially with respect to two actors. One is your relationship with Turkey, and the other, of course, with Azerbaijan. How are we moving in those normalization processes?
Well, you know, I'm sure, different that we have 4 neighbors. We have borders with 4 neighbors. In north, we have Georgia, with whom we have always had friendly relations. In south, we have Iran, with whom we again have always had friendly relations and cooperation. But of course, the situation around Iran is complicated by itself. And in west and east, we have Turkey and Azerbaijan, and we have had conflict with Azerbaijan for decades and decades, and we have had closed borders on west and east. So we started dialogue. We initialed peace treaty with Azerbaijan. This treaty is not signed and ratified yet, but the peace already works. We have peace on the ground. We don't have casualties. It's been already more than a year that we don't have any single casualty on the border with Azerbaijan as a result of shooting. Moreover, Azerbaijan lifted the ban to transport goods to Armenia and from Armenia through their territory. This is already a very serious, significant sign of established peace. Moreover, with Azerbaijan, we started bilateral trade. We buy oil products from Azerbaijan. We will be selling some products to Azerbaijani companies. So this is real evidence of peace. Again, I don't want to exaggerate anything, and I can say that all the issues are resolved. We have had bloody conflict. The wounds are very fresh, and the two societies still need to have a real reconciliation. There are still some unresolved issues, especially of humanitarian nature, detainees, etc. But the path is quite optimistic. With Turkey, the situation is even better. We have wonderful dialogue. We have several instances of cooperation, like we just yesterday, our representatives signed a memorandum on joint restoration of a historic bridge of Ani, which is on the border of Turkey and Armenia. So we have flights. Turkish Airlines again came to be the second Turkish air carrier to organize flights between Armenia and Turkey, and etc., etc. So a week or so ago, the third meeting of a working group took place. Working group which tries to start the relaunch the rail connection between Armenia and Turkey through Gyumri-Kars railway connection. So we do have small or several instances of cooperation, but all in all, the border is still closed. We have expressed bilaterally our readiness to establish diplomatic relations. We have expressed our bilaterally, again, mutually, expressed our readiness to completely open the border. There was an agreement to open the border at first stage for third country nationals and also diplomatic passport holders, I mean Turkish and Armenian citizens. But the border is, so far it's closed. Some of the agreements, they are being realized. Some of them are in the road. They still need to be realized, but I'm sure, and I now can express confidence, this is going to happen because Armenian-Turkish dialogue has, let me put it in this way, has matured enough to give the final fruit. So again, coming back to direct question, we have now ground to express optimism regarding cooperation and normalization of relations in South Caucasus.
No, I'm confident that we are seeing a positive trajectory. Let me turn to another geopolitical question. Actors like the EU, countries like India talk about strategic autonomy. In some sense, from an Armenian lens, what does strategic autonomy mean? You are recalibrating and resetting a new relationship with Russia. You have a deeper engagement with the EU, clearly, the European Union. The Trump administration is deeply invested in Armenia. You're friends with everyone. So foreign policy from an Armenian lens, how does that look today?
An interesting question again, and this is very closely connected with your first question, probably. This is a question about or of philosophy of Armenian political thought. This is a question about how we perceive the world which is surrounding us. For decades and decades, if not centuries, we have been thinking that in this hostile environment, we need one major friend, a big brother, who can protect us. Now this perception has changed, including because when the time came and we indeed needed the protection of a bigger friend, it did not come, and it largely changed the perception of foreign policy among ordinary Armenians. I'm not even speaking about the political establishment and political elites. And now we have somehow succeeded to, and this is where we want the direction in which we want to go, we somehow succeeded to decrease our dependence, be it political, be it economic or energy-wise. We have succeeded to decrease our dependence on one center, our ties and connections with one center, and diversify the list of our friends. As you correctly mentioned, we have established strategic partnership with the United States. United States play key role in establishment of peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. United States is playing key role in opening the transport infrastructure, communications in South Caucasus. I'm sure you know about the TRIP project Trump wrote for international peace and prosperity, which includes railways, electricity grids, internet cables, what else? Pipelines, maybe in future, oil, gas pipelines. So this is all about connection between Armenia and Azerbaijan, connection between Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, Georgia, and beyond this region as well, Europe, Central Asia, Far East. We established strategic partnership with the European Union. We have very close relations with India, strategic partnership with China, Kazakhstan, and we still keep our strong ties with Russia. But again, the goal is to diversify the sources, but also the markets, the ties in general. This is what we are doing. And to conclude, or to cut the long story short, the expression strategic autonomy, which is very popular in India or elsewhere, we understand in the way of balancing and balanced foreign policy, in diversification of partners, markets.
Minister, you mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned foreign policy elite and the wider publics. So I want to ask, I'm going to come to you later, how interested is the common public in Armenia in foreign policy? How much interest there is? How much are you followed, or how many questions do you get from students and young people? How interested? But I'll come to that later. My next question to you is on the diaspora. Again, sometimes my questions may seem a little biased. India has a very large diaspora. Armenia has a very large diaspora. So that's why I'm asking you. They are an asset to foreign policy, and how can they be assets to foreign policy? How important is their thinking when you are making your frameworks in Yerevan these days? How much do you consider their interests as you define your foreign policy?
There is an interesting expression which is very frequently used these days, describing any relationship, you know. It's complicated. Indeed, we have large Armenian diaspora. They are an asset. They are our compatriots. But also, we all should understand that they are citizens of different countries. And their views do not necessarily coincide with their compatriots living somewhere else. For instance, I don't think that Armenians of United Kingdom, Australia, United States coincide with the interests and views of Armenians living in Russia, for instance. And which is more important for us today, these views of diasporan Armenians do not necessarily coincide with the views and needs and the interests of Armenians who are citizens of Republic of Armenia, Armenians who live here, whose homeland is and whose country is Republic of Armenia. And we are having a frank discussion today, so I will be very open. For quite a long time, and we should understand that huge part of diaspora are descendants of survivors of Armenian genocide, for instance. They had to escape, they had to find shelter, a refuge somewhere else, far from this region. So many in diaspora think that they deserve and they want to see a bigger Armenia, a historic Armenia, one which existed, which has had its glorious past, rich history, but which is a dream now. It's not the real Armenia. We in Republic of Armenia, we live in this concrete region with these concrete neighbors, and we don't want to spend another decade, another century, another millennia to fight with neighbors, to lose more generations on the battlefield, to lose more generations who will escape, who will be escaping from a battlefield, from a conflict, and finding, I don't know, a solution or a safe harbor somewhere else. So in this sense, views and needs of citizens of Republic of Armenia can differ from those of diaspora in Armenia. This is an interesting issue. This is an issue which we should deeply discuss, deeply understand, and of course find a solution. And I'm pretty much sure that this solution is coming. And I see indications more and more on a daily basis from diasporan Armenians that they are now starting to understand what this concrete, real Republic of Armenia needs, and we hear more and more supportive voices from diaspora.
I think it's always a fine balancing act to engage them on matters which are essential for Armenia. Could be technology, could be infrastructure, investments, private sector, and at the same time have a conversation on how the politics of the future might be different to the land they had imagined in their own stories. But you know, I want to come back to what I had left with you in my previous question. You mentioned the citizens of the Republic of Armenia. How interested are the citizens in foreign policy today? How much interest does the young youth or different diverse demographics show in your work?
It can't be more. I mean, almost every single citizen, youngsters, elderly people, everyone is very much engaged in foreign policy currently in Armenia. This is the topic number one, which is being discussed at kitchens, at any gathering, on public level, because you know the challenges, the events that took place, the events that have taken place here in Armenia and around Armenia during last 3, 4, 5 years are very crucial. And the path through which we have passed is is difficult, but also needs engagement of everyone. So we, the ruling party, for instance, of Republic of Armenia, the current government, led by Prime Minister Pashinyan, proposes a completely different vision, an unusual vision for Armenians, for the Republic of Armenia. So this needs to be adapted, approved by citizens of Armenia. We have had snap parliamentary issue to have this mandate 5 years ago. Now we are going to have another election, a regular one in June, early days of June. And you know, the topic number one, which is being discussed within this electoral campaign, is peace agenda. So all the politicians, all the political parties, all the citizens of Republic of Armenia should make their decision regarding this foreign policy concept that we are suggesting now.
You know, in India, we have seen that when some issue happens in foreign policy, China, US, neighborhood, Middle East, on Twitter, we have so many experts. Everyone has an opinion, but everyone is also an expert. And sometimes it is a fine balance, engaging with the public, but yet having to make decisions which are right for the country. So, you know, there's an expert opinion versus a public opinion. And how do you sometimes balance those two?
Well, in Armenia, we have 3 million citizens, and all of them are experts when it comes to COVID, all of them are experts when it comes to foreign policy, all of them are experts for which are the topics that are, any single topic, and we have 3 million experts, which is, you know, this is the specifics of 21st century and these social media things. We have, sometimes we can even, it's hard to make any difference between real and online lives, but this is what we have now. On the other hand, this is, you know, this is good. Engagement is always good. This is a sign of direct democracy as well. In ancient times, they had agoras in ancient Greece to gather people and to discuss the issues. Later, we have had referendums and elections. Now we have this social media. So, in some sense, this is also good. On the other hand, there is also objective ground, specifically for Armenia, you know. We are, the motto, the logo.
Riding the storm.
Yeah, riding the storms. We have passed through storms, internal storms as well in Armenia. So the way that we see the way out of these storms should be thoroughly discussed, and it should be a decision not of the ruling party or the prime minister or me or anyone else. This should be the decision of the whole society.
The people. No, wonderful. Look, I'm going to ask one more question to the foreign minister, then I'm going to turn it to you. So you guys can join this conversation. Please be ready with your questions. We'll bring the mic to you. But while you gather your thoughts and formulate your question, let me ask you a final question before we go to the audience. You spend your days navigating hard geopolitics. You've had tough 2-3 years when it comes to reinventing, reorganizing, resetting the neighborhood, Armenia's place in the world, in the region. How do you unwind? I really want to know. What do you do to look ahead and be positive? Do you read books, a long walk in Yerevan, or do you have a conversation with someone who disagrees? Like, how do you unwind and how do you prepare for the next day when every day is itself a crisis of a new variety in the last so many months?
Well, sometimes I had an impression that I'm living in a TV show and part of the answer. But the first place in this answer belongs to the following. The source of ideas, of solutions, are the citizens of Republic of Armenia. We are in constant contact, particularly Prime Minister. We are in constant, very direct contact with our citizens. You know, I mentioned the previous parliamentary elections. At that time, having peace in our mind or intuitively feeling, I mean, the necessity of peace, we haven't brought this word to the electoral campaign back those days, during 5 years ago. But when we started our visits to regions and meetings to the groups of citizens, there was one thing that was like in a way it emerged from these meetings. So citizens, they were approaching us and saying, ensure peace, 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 make peace. We need peace. And it somehow, peace is not the thing that this current government suggests to Armenian society. This is a word we learned and we got the order from the society.
This is a mandate given to you by the people.
Absolutely, absolutely.